Hey, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? What's happening? What's cracking? What it do? What's good? What's popping? All of that. And then some because it's Friday. It's Friday, it's May 1st, and it is 4:23 in the AM. Now, I've been pretty quiet about this, and the folks that I'm around really haven't mentioned this, and I have to say, the apathy is appalling. The silence screams ignorance. I have to say this. I do. And it angers me that I have to say it. And now, for those of you who don't know, the Supreme Court, with the exception of Ketanji and Sotomayor, voted, and in that vote, gutted the Voting Rights Act. Now, I'm going to read you a little excerpt from a book that I am actually rereading, and that is White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. You hear me quote from it a lot, but I'm going to read you a quote, and I want you to think about the date that is mentioned along with the information stated, okay? And this is about voting. And I'm speaking to or about the 92% and why black women aren't really engaged in what we're calling a political crisis. I'm speaking to the fact that now that 92% is pretty much nullified because the gerrymandering or whatever, however you pronounce that, gerrymandering or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Now I have to look up the pronunciation. They're going to be redistricting maps all over the place to negate the black vote. Okay? So, what you're seeing now will most likely intensify. And I don't know how much more intense the insanity can get. But I'm sure we're going to find out. Okay, here's the quote. White men granted suffrage to women, but only granted full access to white women. Okay? So the women's right to vote, the Susan B. Anthony suffragette movement, where the weight of that movement depended on, again, black women or black men stepping back, taking a back seat, assuming a lesser position. See, that's part of history you don't hear about. Okay, start over again. White men granted suffrage to women, but only granted full access to white women. All right, now here's the kicker. Women of color were denied full access until the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Okay? Women of color weren't included in that movement until 1965. And for most of the folks who are claiming the Democratic Party, you used the black vote to carry that party for a goodly number of years. Homie, don't you know me? And see, the Republican Party knew that as well. Hence, the massive movement to Project 2025, which everybody said didn't exist until the crap started happening. 1965, I was 4 years old. So, in my lifetime, I've lived out some serious historical context. And the things that were celebrated by the folks who were before me have now been rolled back, been rescinded. Back in the day where you watch what I like to call cowboy movies, but the generally accepted term is Westerns, when the indigenous folks were uprising, the line of dialogue was always, white man speak with forked tongue. What has a forked tongue? A snake. And now, I'm not saying all. I'm talking about that 1% who thinks they're entitled to everything and accountable for nothing. Y'all better wake up. That little dude in the Monopoly game that's on the chance cards. You remember the little sketch with him with his pockets turned out, talking about paying a tax? Not only will our pockets be turned out, some of you will be skeletons with their pockets turned out, meaning your soul is turned out. If it hasn't already happened. This level of dysfunctional communication that we subscribe to, make no waves, keep the peace at all cost. It's too expensive if it costs you your peace or your soul. And I'm placing most of the significance on the soul. You don't even have the soul to speak of. I have this t-shirt design that says, you can't teach heart. Yeah. And some of you have the hearts that are pumping the Kool-Aid of delusion.